Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are looking at a story that, quite frankly, shouldn't have happened.
Right.
We're recording this on Wednesday, January 21st, 2026, and if you've paid even a little bit of attention to the news, you know the aviation industry has been absolutely through the grinder this past year.
Grinder is putting it politely. 2025 was just, a year of supply chain fractures,
Mhm.
massive geopolitical instability, and then
And then the shutdown.
just to cap it all off, we had that massive U.S. government shutdown back in November.
Right, which feels like a lifetime ago, but was really only 2 months back. And usually when you have that kind of, macro level chaos, airline earnings reports are grim.
Oh, they're brutal.
You expect CEOs to get on the call, apologize, blame the government, blame the weather, and just say, wait until next year.
That is the standard playbook.
But then we have United Airlines. They released their Q4 2025 earnings report yesterday, and they didn't just survive the chaos.
Oh, well.
They were the only U.S. airline to actually grow their earnings per share year over year. It's a massive divergence from the rest of the pack.
It really is.
So the mission today is to unpack this. We've got the earnings report. We have the transcript from CEO Scott Kirby, a mountain of data. How is a legacy carrier, basically a company that drives flying buses, successfully pivoting into what they're calling a premium lifestyle brand?
It is a bold rebranding, I'll give them that.
Mhm.
But when you look at the numbers they just released, it's really not just marketing fluff. There's a fundamental shift in the business model happening here.
Okay, well, let's start with the hard numbers because money talks.
Right.
Q4 earnings per share, it came in at $3.10.
Right. Wall Street was expecting something closer to 297. So it's a beat.
It's a solid beat, but the number that really jumped out at me was the full year revenue, $59.1 billion. That is the highest revenue in the company's entire history.
It is, but I think focusing just on revenue kind of misses the real story.
Yeah.
Revenue is vanity, profit is sanity.
Yeah.
Look at the guidance they put out for 2026. They just finished 2025 with an EPS of 10.62. For 2026, they're projecting that to jump to between $12 and $14 per share.
Wow. That is a serious jump. That's confident.
It's incredibly confident, especially given the environment. And it tells us they believe this whole premium strategy isn't a fluke. They are doubling down.
And they're cleaning up the books to do it.
Exactly. They're cleaning up the balance sheet. They paid off $1.9 billion in high-cost debt this year.
Okay, let's pause on the debt for a second. For people who aren't CFOs, why does paying off that $1.9 billion matter so much for, a regular flyer?
Well, think of it like your personal credit card.
Yeah.
If you're maxed out and paying 20% interest, every spare dollar you have goes straight to the bank.
Right.
You can't renovate your kitchen. You can't buy a new car. United has brought their net leverage down to 2.2 times. They are laser focused on getting back to investment grade.
Which basically means they just get better interest rates on their loans.
Exactly. And when you aren't drowning in interest payments, you have cash. Cash to buy new planes, install better Wi-Fi, retrofit cabins. It's the fuel for this whole premium experience they're trying to sell.
Got it.
Right.
But we do have to address the elephant in the room with those Q4 numbers.
You just shut down.
The shutdown.
The shutdown. This is where the story gets really, really interesting to me from a behavioral psychology perspective.
Okay, so November 2025, the government shuts down. The FAA has staffing shortages. They have to order airlines to reduce flights at 40 major airports. This is what United calls an act of God event.
Right, and for United, this wasn't cheap. It cost them about $250 million in pre-tax earnings.
$250 million, just gone.
Evaporated because of political gridlock.
Now, normally this is the part where a company says, hey, not our fault, sorry about your vacation, here's a voucher for $10 off your next flight.
That's the industry standard. But United did something completely different. They went on the offensive. They offered full refunds, cash refunds, even to people who had non-refundable tickets. So even if you bought that cheapest basic economy seat, if your flight was messed up, they gave you your money back.
That is risky. I mean, you're hemorrhaging cash at that point.
It is risky, but look at the operational recovery. They rebooked 60% of the affected customers within 4 hours. They didn't just cancel and walk away. And the result,
What happened?
November, ended up being their highest ever month for Net Promoter Scores.
Wait, hold on. The government shuts down, flights are getting canceled or moved, there's chaos at the airports, and customer satisfaction went up to record highs. That doesn't make any sense.
It's actually a known phenomenon. In behavioral psychology, it's called the service recovery paradox.
The service recovery paradox.
Yeah, it's this counterintuitive idea that A customer who faces a crisis, a lost bag, a canceled flight, but has that problem solved perfectly and compassionately.
Right.
They end up being more loyal than a customer who never had a problem in the first place.
Because the crisis lets you show your true colors.
Precisely. If everything goes right, you're just a commodity. The plane took off, the plane landed, fine. But when things go wrong, you have a chance to be a hero. By refunding people and rebooking them fast, United signaled, "We have your back." And that builds trust way faster than a smooth flight does.
So they turned a $250 million loss into a loyalty marketing campaign. That is, honestly, that's pretty smart.
It's brilliant.
But let's pivot to the bigger strategy here. You mentioned premiumization. To me, that just sounds like corporate speak for everything is going to get more expensive.
It often is. But in this case, it's a very specific bet on consumer behavior. United is effectively deciding to exit the low-cost race.
They're not trying to be Spirit or Frontier.
No, they aren't. They aren't even trying to be the United of, like, 2015.
Because the low-cost model is just a race to the bottom.
It's a race to the bottom where the margins are razor thin. United's thesis is that people are tired of being treated like cattle. They are betting that you and everyone listening are willing to pay a premium to not be miserable.
And the data backs them up.
The data backs them up. Premium revenue was up 12% in the fourth quarter.
Okay, but is that just because they raise prices? Or is it demand?
It's a demand. The revenue per available seat mile, basically how much money they make for every seat they fly, was almost 10 points higher in the premium cabins compared to the main cabin.
So the back of the plane, the main cabin, is actually dragging them down, relatively speaking.
Relative to the front, yes. Revenue in the standard economy section was flat or down, about -5% for the year. And this brings up a concept the leadership team kept hammering on.
Which was?
Economic gravity.
Economic gravity. Sounds ominous, like a physics problem.
It's actually a really compelling market theory. The idea is that right now, there are a lot of competitors out there flying routes that are losing money.
Just to fill seats.
Exactly. They're filling seats with spillover traffic at rock-bottom prices just to keep the planes moving. United's argument is that this violates the laws of economic physics.
You can't lose money on every flight and make it up in volume.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Eventually, gravity wins, the cash runs out, those competitors will have to cut those routes. And when that unprofitable capacity leaves the market, supply goes down and prices stabilize. United is basically saying, we can wait you out, we're profitable, you aren't.
So they are sitting there with their healthy balance sheet, just watching the budget carriers bleed, waiting for them to fold.
That is the game. And while they wait, they're upgrading the product to lock in those high-paying customers. They talked about the United Next plan. 68% of the domestic fleet now has this signature interior.
Bigger bins, seat back screens, I've seen the ads. But the thing that caught my eye was the tech. They're rolling out Starlink Wi-Fi, and they really emphasized it's going to be free.
That is a game changer for business travelers. If you can take a Zoom call at 35,000 feet without it buffering, the plane becomes a valid office.
Yeah, that's huge.
And then you have the app updates, live activities on your phone, detailed bag tracking. They are trying to remove the anxiety from the process.
And for the really high-end folks, they teased the new Polaris Studio on the new 787s coming this year. Privacy doors, more space.
Yep, that's all about competing with the global heavyweights, Emirates, Qatar, Singapore Airlines. United wants to be the premier global airline, not just a U.S. carrier.
But to do that, they have to defend their home turf.
And that brings us to the brawl that's happening in Chicago.
Ah, yes, the Chicago showdown. The earnings call got a little spicy here. They didn't name names, but it was pretty obvious who they were talking about.
Oh, it was American Airlines, no doubt about it.
So set the scene for us. What's happening at O'Hare?
It's a classic market share war. American aggressively added flights in Chicago last year, trying to claw back customers. They just flooded the market with seats.
And usually when that happens, everyone loses money because fares just crash.
Everyone loses.
Yep.
But look at the scoreboard for 2025. United Chicago Hub made a $500 million profit.
Okay.
American. Estimates say they lost $500 million in Chicago.
That is a billion-dollar swing between the two in one city.
In United Projects, American will lose another billion there in 2026.
Ouch. So American is just burning cash to try and win gates. Is United backing down at all?
Not an inch. Leadership drew a literal line in the sand on the call. They said they will add as many flights as necessary to ensure American does not win a single gate at their expense.
That is aggressive. That's we will drown you energy.
It is. But here's why United is winning that war. It's not just about the number of flights, it's about who is on them.
Right.
United has a 38-point lead with business customers in Chicago.
The people paying $500 for a ticket, not 50.
Correct. You can fly empty planes or cheap planes all day to pump up your market share stats, but if you don't have the corporate contracts, you're just burning jet fuel. United has the moat.
It seems like a victory lap for their strategy. And I know they mentioned Glenn Howenstein's retirement. He's sort of a legend in airline circles, isn't he?
Oh, he's the architect of the modern airline industry. He really invented the strategy of segmenting the the basic economy versus economy plus versus premium. He figured out how to monetize every inch of real estate on the plane.
His retirement is the end of an era.
It is, but clearly the strategy is set in stone now.
But, and there's always a but, none of this strategy matters if the operation falls apart. You can have the nicest privacy door in the world, but if I'm stuck on the tarmac for 3 hours, I hate you.
And that is the bridge between strategy and profit. Operational excellence isn't just about making people happy, it's about saving money.
Because delays are expensive.
Incredibly expensive. Overtime for crews, rebooking fees, hotels. United's efficiency metric CASM-X rose only 0.4% this year.
Okay, CASM-X. Break down that acronym for us.
It stands for Cost Per Available Seat Mile, excluding fuel. So think of it like a household budget. You can't control the price of gas for your car. That's the market.
Right.
But you can control how much you spend on groceries, repairs, entertainment. CSMX is the stuff the airline can control. In a year where inflation was everywhere, keeping their controllable costs basically flat at 0.4% it's a miracle of discipline.
That implies they're running a very tight ship.
They are. They had the lowest seat cancellation rate among all U.S. network carriers. And get this, United Express, their regional arm, went 134 days with 0 cancellations.
134 days. Regional jets are usually the first thing to get canceled when a cloud appears in the sky. That's impressive.
It is, and they're using tech to improve reliability, too. They talked about Connection Saver.
I love this tool. It sounds like common sense, but I guess it's complicated math.
It's a very complex algorithm. It looks at a flight that's ready to leave. It sees there are 5 people running from another gate who are about to miss it. The computer calculates, if we hold the plane for 5 minutes, will it cause a delay down the line? If the answer is no, they hold the plane.
And save those 5 people from a nightmare.
They saved over 1 million connections in 2025 using this. That's 1 million people who got home on time instead of sleeping in an airport hotel.
And again, going back to your service recovery paradox or just general loyalty, if an airline holds a plane for me, I'm a customer for life.
Especially if you're a business traveler. If you miss that connection, you miss the meeting. Reliability is the ultimate premium product.
So we have the financials, the premium pivot, the turf war, the operations. Let's look forward. 2026. What's the outlook? Because they sound very bullish, but are there clouds on the horizon?
They are bullish. They're seeing a corporate travel boom up nearly 20% in early January. But there's a major constraint on the industry that I think is the most fascinating part of this whole deep dive. It's not pilots, it's not airports, it's engines.
Engines.
Yes, engines. We usually talk about Boeing or Airbus not building planes fast enough. But United leadership says the real bottleneck is the engines themselves. There's a global shortage of spare engines and parts.
They have the gliders, but they don't have the thrust.
Essentially.
Yeah.
The supply chain for high-tech jet engines is broken. And what this means is that the industry cannot grow capacity as fast as it wants to. There's a physical limit on how many planes can be in the air.
Which brings us back to economics 101. Supply is capped. Demand is rising.
Exactly. It creates a natural floor for pricing. If airlines can't flood the market with cheap seats because they physically don't have the engines to fly them, then the yields, the price of tickets, stay high. This engine shortage is actually a massive tailwind for United's profitability.
That is wild. The broken supply chain is actually protecting their margins.
It forces discipline on an industry that is historically very undisciplined.
What about the regulatory side? There was a mention of credit cards. We always joke that airlines are basically banks that happen to fly airplanes because of their loyalty program.
It's barely a joke. It's true. The mileage programs make billions. And there is legislation looming in D.C. that could cap credit card fees or interest rates that would hurt the banks and, by extension, the airlines.
Is United worried?
They seem pretty relaxed. They made a point to say that their Mileage Plus members have much higher credit scores and lower default rates than the average American.
So even if the government cracks down on subprime lending or high fees,
United thinks their customers are premium enough to be insulated.
there's that word again, Premium. It protects them from the low-cost competitors, and it protects them from the credit regulators.
It's a cohesive strategy. They've bifurcated the market. They looked at the landscape and said, we are not fighting for the $49 traveler going to Orlando on a Tuesday. That's a losing game.
Right.
We want the consultant flying to London on Wednesday and the family going to Italy for a luxury vacation.
So United is effectively saying goodbye to the commoditized traveler.
They are leaving that battle to others. And frankly, looking at the EPS growth, it's working. They're turning United Next from a PowerPoint presentation into a financial reality.
So let's wrap this up. For the listener, whether they are a road warrior or just someone planning a summer trip, what is the big takeaway here?
The takeaway is that the flying experience is splitting in two. If you're willing to pay, flying is getting significantly better. Better tech, better seats, more reliability. It's becoming a lifestyle product.
And if you aren't willing to pay,
Well, that brings me to a provocative thought to leave you with.
let's hear it.
We talked about economic gravity, the idea that United believes their low-cost competitors are losing billions and will eventually have to shrink or fold.
Right, the sustainable argument.
If United is right, and those cheap, unprofitable seats disappear from the market because those airlines go bust or merge, what happens to airfare?
It goes up.
It might go up permanently. We
Right.
might be looking at the end of the golden age of cheap travel. If the only way for an airline to make money is to be premium, then the era of the $50 flight across the country might just be over.
Commodity travel could become a luxury in itself.
It could.
That is a sobering thought. Great for United shareholders, maybe not so great for the college student trying to get home for Thanksgiving.
Exactly. The floor is rising.
Well, on that note, we will leave you to check your mileage balances. A fascinating look at how United is defying the industry gravity. Thanks for walking us through it.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive. Safe travels.